Good evening. It is September 10th, 2025. Time is 6:32 p.m. and we are about to start our Building Grounds Transportation Committee meeting. President for this meeting is myself, Pete Pirro, Board President Gail DePayne, Ms. Bora, Ms. Ratner from the board, Dr. Lehman from the Superintendent's Office, Mr. Jerry Tague, our Facility Director, and Ms. Donna Martyr, our Transportation Director. So we're going to start this meeting off tonight with talk about the Applegarth Drive Grant Project, our roof projects, electric service, HVAC projects, update for that building. So Mr. Tate, could you
Sure.
fill us in?
So the roof projects are moving well. We're substantially complete with the 1960, 79, and finishing up the 83. I provided committee members with a change order number 1 for the 1960 wing roof. Let you know that we do have an $125,000 allowance set aside in the contract for these types of things. If you recall, when we did the 1936 building, we also had monies there for that, for the rotted roof sections. Essentially, we run into a similar condition here around the 1960 wing, and we took off the perimeter flashing, off the fascia and so on. We realized the structure underneath was compromised, so the architect has done a sketch to put in additional wood support to carry the gutter system. So this covers that, and we have more than adequate funds in the project to pay for it. We're also dealing with a similar condition as we finished up the 1983 section. There are some metal panels up along the gym, which we have to remove and flash underneath. And as we've removed them, we've also found some structural issues back there, which the architect is preparing a sketch. We had some roof sections that we were concerned about where we had some deflection. So we brought in a structural engineer to give us some guidance on that. And we've had structural upgrades done. So you'll see another change order come in to address some of the structural items. The key with the roof piece, though, as I've mentioned all along, is the coordination between the roofing contractor and HVAC contractor, which is critical. And that has gone extremely well to date. So the two of them are working in harmony on this. And some of the structural issues that we are dealing with, supporting the HVAC equipment, that too is being coordinated between those two trades very well. So that part is moving along. The HVAC contractors continue to work in the school. As we mentioned previously, the delay in the electric is actually a benefit to the HVAC contractor. By contract, he was going to be working on the second shift when school opened, which means he would have to open areas up, work in them, reassemble the areas every night, and it wouldn't be ideal for students coming in every morning. So he's had a much better playing field up there and has actually been able to progress along quite well. As far as the electric service, as we all know, the delivery of the switchgear is the thing we've been waiting on. Previously, we had been promised a ship date of August 29th. That changed. We received confirmation yesterday from the supplier, which we feel good about because it's not just the contractor giving us lip service, that it is set to ship this Friday, the 12th. So we will track that to make sure that goes out, get tracking numbers on it. And once we confirm that, we'll have the electrician resubmit his critical path schedule in hopes that maybe we can condense the time frame. We previously been looking at about 30 days, but quite possibly we can reduce that time frame. So we'll let everybody know next week once we confirm that the unit is shipped.
Does, with the, a little bit of delay in the shipping of this piece, will this extend, do you think, the students having to stay at the middle school, or do you still think we have a shot for the beginning of October?
No, I don't think we have a shot for the beginning of October. At a minimum, if we're still looking at a 30-day window for him, we're looking at mid-October now.
So then, Dr. Lehman, you'll make sure that
Yeah.
once we.
So this is happening in real time, like
And-
literally happening.
Yeah, so we'll
In
be
the-
able to
in the
communicate with
afternoon.
parents and everybody.
So our communication plan at this point, getting this information would be, ideally, we will have the plan from the electrician, the installation plan, the revised installation plan to give a return date, but minimally we'll reach out on Friday and give an update. We confirm that everything's shipped and things, so. Yep.
When did they alert us that the part was going to be delayed further? Like that it wasn't going to ship on August 29th?
On August 29th.
Yeah, of course.
Well, we didn't.
Do
get
that,
the
but you
fact
asked.
but we were
We didn't hear.
in communication with the contractor, and that was the holiday weekend.
Find out.
And here,
Right.
and
Mr. Pugh. So I want to go back to the change order form. So we used $18,000 of the allowance and the rest is still there for any unforeseen.
yes,
And what about, I read on that there's a 10-day schedule impact. Are we okay with that? Is
Yes.
that, it wouldn't go into the time when the kids are back?
No, I mean, quite frankly, had we moved in on September 2nd, that 10 days would not impact it because building is watertight with roofs. This just handles the perimeter gutters and so on.
This is the gutters, really? Is that what
Yeah,
it
It's
is?
supporting the gutters. on the
It's
board.
supporting-
Fascia
Okay.
and support for the gutters.
So, I know that the plan had been to sort of transition back when we had a day off from school. Now knowing that it's pushed back, hopefully we can, like you said, sort of tighten that timeline, but there's obviously less days off in October than, there were at that point.
Oh.
Is there the
My
potential?
understanding is that everything is fine with the school, like this little bit of delay is not affecting Applegar or the students or the educators. Like, I believe that the plan like we're using now
Is-
with the middle school is working out very well from.
Yeah,
what I'm hearing.
the plan is going well.
Right,
I think that to the answer to your question is, when we get the new revised installation timeline from the electrician, we will look and see if we can sync this up with the weekend move or something like that. If he's done on a Thursday, we'll move over the weekend, that kind of thing.
okay, so
So,
there's still that option.
100%, yes.
We wouldn't need the teachers to be part of the move. It'll all be the facility staff.
Yeah, the teachers aren't moving any of their things. No,
Okay.
they would just prepare whatever's in their classroom.
Box it up and.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, and then knowing that we obviously hope for the best, plan
Plan for the worst.
Plan the worst. Because when we had discussed this, we talked about how luckily it was at the beginning of the year
Yeah.
and there weren't a lot of extra things that we had to factor in. This is not that much more in terms of weeks, but of course, there's always that chance that there could be more. So I guess from the administration standpoint, are there plans in place for like sort of those other extra things that happen?
Yeah, so Dr. Graziano from the beginning has had the mindset of, we will operate as if we're in our original building. So if we're gonna host a PTA event, then we would do that here. Or we would do it at Applegarth, if we're at Applegarth. In terms of back to school night, they're gonna host their back to school night there
Mhm.
on Tuesday next week.
Mhm.
So they're moving ahead regardless of where their location was, and that was their plan. So
Right,
if we're thinking like zero period, right, that's one thing that we
right,
in our current situation, before this delay, we would have had the students miss 1 0 period.
Mhm.
So, we have had discussions about, leading up to this, about what it would look like to roll out a 0 period at the middle school. And actually timing wise, it works great, in terms of the middle school is in first period, the entire area we would need to use is available
okay.
for our 0 period. So we will go through and map those things out now that we, have an extra week or two, that we're gonna have to deal with. So, we're prepared and we have planned for and thought through a lot of these scenarios and a lot of the things we have to occur.
Okay.
Dr. Graziano's philosophy has been, we're having school here like we would have school at Applegarth. So
Right.
if we're gonna have a PTO event, we're having it here. It's not,
Right.
we're not gonna not do it just because we're not where we usually are.
Okay, I'm even thinking of like the drop-offs, right? Because we like 0 period drop-offs can be
Yep,
that, and if that's timed around when the middle school's opening.
we've already talked about
Okay.
staggering times and drop-off locations and
Right, 'cause I
maybe
just
not-
also
maybe
like
not running-
0 things too.
maybe not running it the same way the middle school runs it. Maybe
Right,
having the Applegarth drop off in a different location or whatever. So we've had those discussions leading up to even determining that Applegarth was the site. We've talked about it when we had our alternate sites as well. So it's, at this point, it's about executing a few more things and, making sure that there's minimal impact. And that's been the goal from the beginning.
Alright,
Yep.
Good luck.
thank you.
Okay, can we move on now to the ESEP project update?
Certainly. So committee members were again provided a 2-week look ahead report. Well, I will tell you, they do have a typo on page 206 where the date for the start of the field house should be October 27th of 25, not of 27. Aside from that, they are moving along with the lighting, not as quickly as we like. We put pressure on them to add staff to expedite that work. On the flip side, they are ahead of schedule with some of the HVAC projects, and we are looking at undertaking boilers this year at the middle school in Barkley Brook, as well as potentially one large HVAC unit which serves the kitchen at the middle school. So those items are ahead. They're a little behind on the lighting. We are pushing them to expedite that. Other than that, the solar piece, the interconnection agreement that HESP Solar must arrange with the utility company. We've been processing the paperwork for that, making applications through the county planning board, et cetera. They anticipate that they should get JCP&L approval by the end of December 2025. From that point forward, they anticipate about 6 months for construction for solar throughout the district. So if all goes well, they get the interconnection agreements for the sites. The weather is acceptable. We should have all the solar in for the start of next school year, online over the summer.
Mr. Bill, can I ask a question? So-
Is that in all the schools or is that just?
No, here at the high school, we have the canopies that are going to be open parking, and then we
Okay.
have it scattered at some of the other schools.
So I had two questions. One, going back to the lighting project, I thought we were done in some of the schools, but I'm just looking at it again. So it's still ongoing in the 4 schools. But we did replace sections of it starting as soon as we went live with the project. Have we started to see any impact on our electricity bills yet?
I have not looked at that as of yet.
It'll be great if we can next month maybe take a look and see if you're starting to see those. Most of our
Once they
calculations are
get
based
done
on.
a school, it would be, but they're not done a school. I guess Oak Tree is probably the closest they're done, so we could take a look at
See
it.
if there's even a, what's the trend on that bill?
Right.
For the solar, you said by December and then so when you say construction can start, are we talking summer or are we talking during school year?
We're talking during the school year.
Okay, so here during school year with the canopies, how would that even work out?
Well, we haven't looked at a construction schedule yet, but a lot of it is they would come in, auger footings, off hours. We would arrange potentially clearing a section of parking where they could come in, center steel,
So
et cetera.
our parking situation wouldn't get impacted in the high school, but that's pretty tight, right? During.
And that's what the construction plan would define, as to,
Okay.
where and when and.
I mean, we coordinate that with them, so during this process, they've been in, for example, in the parking lot here, they had to bring in a geotechnical company. A drill rig you may have seen out there, you may have seen in some of my reports. We coordinated with Dr. Higgins and the high school administration, okay, this area is going to be cordoned off for the day while we do the boring, et cetera. Those kind of things would be coordinated.
All right,
At the other schools, Applegarth, it's out in the field, we don't
Yes.
be impacted, same thing big time.
what about Brookside side? Is it out in the field on the?
It's on the schools, on the roof. So as of, Wednesday, so Monday, I reviewed plans with them. We actually were able to come up with some additional area on the Woodland roof and the Barkley Brook roof, which I approved for them to add panels on. Part of their process is they go through studies, literally sunlight studies, et cetera. And the determination, they originally thought they were going to be able to cover this area. They now realize they can cover this area. We reviewed it on our end, doesn't impact us, more money for us.
Right, and typically, my experience with this for residential houses is that the solar guys are so quick, they do it within 2 days, so would that be like a short time frame? Anything on the roof or on the fields?
Yeah,
I know this is a big project outside here, but,
actually, the majority of the work is putting in the inverters and the electrical work that they do inside the electric rooms, so that really doesn't impact anything. Connection out to the utility, back to the grid, those kind of things really don't impact the school. You're right, when they come to set the panels, it's literally screw clip, that type of thing.
okay. Yeah. Very exciting, thank you.
Anybody else? No, we're good. All right, now we're gonna talk about our use of building. Ms. Tay is gonna give us our annual summary review of it.
So I provided you with a couple documents. The one is the accounts receivable for the year to show you the money that was taken in through the use of buildings program, roughly $100,000. However, do not look at that as profit because in one hand, out the other hand.
Right.
This covers security, custodial, a lot of this gets fed through to Reed Sound, and then utility cost. I also included for you 3 years of usage.
Mhm.
And you'll see, within the last 3 years, we went from 9,433 events to this past year, 12,118 events. And you wonder why in my weekly report every week I put in there, because I have to sign off on 12,118 of it. So it's a lot. And we're doing this, also just be reminded, the facility staff this year to balance the budget, we reduced 3 positions in the department. So we truly are doing more with less. And I will tell you, these events are getting more and more challenging.
Right.
The groups, some of the groups that come in are, they don't want to pay the full amount. They attempt to manipulate items to get their bill reduced. They show up at the office, semi-confrontational quite a bit. We're trying to run the school district, this past week with what we had going on here with the electric, it was literally 24/7, we're dealing with that, and then we have people coming and saying, I don't want to pay this much, can't you give me this, can't you cut this? Oh, we're not gonna have as many people, cut down our bill. So if at any time, the board wants to decide not to do outside use of buildings like other districts for these weekend events, we'd be all for it.
Is that,
I think we should, honestly, I think we should look at, if we are gonna do these events, that we raise the rate, we go through the policy again, change the rate. Also, I think that, if somebody comes in and says, I'm having 1,000 people, blah, 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 and then you tell them it costs X amount of dollars and they don't like that, they come back and tell you, oh, you know what, we changed it, we're only having 600. Well, there's no way for the district to monitor that 1,000 people aren't. My thing is, if you submit a building use and you tell us this is what you're having, I don't think they should be able to revise it. Because honestly, there's no way you'll lower the rate, but you're paying more money out.
I'm confused because like I'm looking at our building use costs, like what we charge, and it doesn't mention anything about the number of people. It says per hour.
So
For
we dictate that based on how many people they're gonna be.
How
Okay,
many security you need, how many
So
custodians.
director of security looks at the event, says,
Says I
okay.
need.
okay, so we'll say that we need additional.
this many dollars at this point.
Okay.
Just looking at this, can you explain what is the tour?
So the tour is, a lot of groups say, oh, we want to use your facility, we want to come by and look at it. And what I found was they're pulling my staff who have assigned duties. Each of my people have so many square feet they have to do a day, and they'll take a person for 2 hours. Show me this, can we do this? And then the person's not doing their area, so previously I said to the board, we need to be compensated for that, because I then have somebody overtime to finish cleaning their area because they spent time.
So are we
And that also
charging-
helps.
Charging them?
Yes, they have to bring us a check in order to get the tour. What we found is a lot of people who thought, well, we want to consider using your thing. We told them $90, oh, forget about it, we don't want to. It just saves us from the hassle of wasting.
We probably could put a video up of our facility.
I
to
know
avoid
too,
the-
that like in East Brunswick, it's like $800 an hour to use the
Mhm.
Hammershock school.
Mhm.
And but that covers, like,
Right.
we're covering maybe some custodian and some security. What about the electric? What about the bathrooms? What about, like, it's still costing us water, sewer, electric. We, the taxpayer, are footing the bill for maybe a group, and we don't limit it. At one point, it was only groups from Monroe Township.
Would it be?
Now I understand that you could be in, Jersey City and decide that, and the word, believe me, gets out that, hey, if you go to East Brunswick, it's 800.
Right.
In Monroe, it's, what's an hour, basically?
Depends on the area.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the most,
Couple of people.
couple $100.
Would it
So-
be possible for next month to get like we can look at it and look at the
Specific.
surrounding districts to see what they're charging and sort of see where, I know that we sort of did this a
We
couple
did
of
it.
years ago.
What I would
But we
suggest is,
came through,
since
I know
the
they've
utility
increased.
costs have gone up so much, as you know, JCP&O went up 20%
We know
recently.
that.
You have not adjusted the rates you're charging. So I would venture to say you're probably losing money with these groups.
And that's why I don't want to stop doing this. I think we really need to find
Reevaluate
better, stricter.
what it
processes.
costs us.
We can't bleed because of this. And plus, we cannot put an extra stress on the staff,
Yeah,
for which this is not a primary
I
responsibility.
mean, that's a lot of events, 12,000.
And like you said, you're doing more with less, so that you can, that has to be factored in. Are we taking more requests than we can handle? So,
Could we go
Mr.
back
Pig,
to
I think
Monroe groups, Monroe residents, Monroe?
what would really help at this
Thing.
point is getting a little bit more detail on
Right.
the type of events, the number of people coming, what kind of staff, what hours of staff is going to, what's our cost? What are we getting reimbursed? I think let's look at it. The sooner we look at it,
Well,
the
potentially-
quicker we make a decision.
Potentially look at a deposit. For example, we had a group last year, who booked it for an event, and they said, we're gonna have X number of people, and they more than doubled that.
Mhm.
And it caused a major, I got a call that weekend, my people were sending me videos, the place was wall to wall people, it was a real mess. The amount of staff we had designated for that could not cover it, and we spent a lot more time afterwards. We approached the group afterwards, and they weren't at first willing to come back with additional monies, but then when we told them you could not come back in the future, they finally stepped forward. And whenever you use something on the outside, you have to put down a security deposit. We don't require that here.
Worse.
So if we were to take a security deposit set on the side, when these groups say 600 and they show up with 1,600.
I think that's the first change we need to make. So I know when I need to use a senior center, I have to provide my own security. They would not allow me to, even if I've done school sports banquets there, we've got to take people with some sort of a security background, like an ex-cop or something, and we have to pay them out of our budget. And they need to be present there outside. They can't be like parent that's sitting inside. It has to be outside watching out. So, and we do put in a deposit. So I would say one of the easiest changes, the quickest changes to make is.
Policy needs to be reviewed.
That would be a policy change, right?
Figure out the rates, and I really think that we should concentrate, we have a lot going on here.
Yeah.
And we can't afford to be losing tons of money from people that aren't even from our township that come here and use our buildings and,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and believe me, word travels quick. Hey, go to Monroe Township, you're gonna only pay this much. And you can tell them you're having 500 and bring 1,500, like, 'cause we see that's what's going on, so.
I would be hesitant to
Ask
use,
for security?
well, to like security that isn't like vetted by, if they're in our
You
building.
can't,
No, I wouldn't, I'm just giving you an
Okay.
example, but I think we should put a security, we should definitely use our own staff.
Okay.
And do what we can manage with our staff.
Right.
But the security deposit is a quick fix.
No, the
where-
deposit, I fully agree.
Yeah,
If I
and
mentioned
and
your
this
own
could
security.
be relative to the crowd that is coming.
Because then they get it back
The area of the
in
building that is being used, that they're using the auditorium and our sound equipment, that security deposit should reflect that.
Mm.
If they're just using the cafeteria, the security deposit can be less, but we don't use any outside venue without a security deposit. I always pay the security deposit
You
and
don't.
hope that it all comes back, right?
So the way we did
And
this
so be
last-
careful, don't break anything, this would go out of the security, right, when you use outside, props for any banquet.
Reed Sound do all outside stuff, or does, if something happens in this school, does the people, do the tech people, or,
The outside groups have to use Reed Sound.
so any group
But
in
inside
the
groups,
district?
but an in-district group.
Okay.
When I say in-district, I mean a school employee group, the middle school is doing the play or
Yeah.
but then the in-district people do it. We have staff who receive.
That's what I mean, but we don't allow out of, because I know this came up. Somebody brought up about us allowing outside groups to bring their own people, not usually sound, but I.
Right, that was
That-
me. At one point, it had been said that they, as long as they had a representative from Reed Sound there. But then we were told that that's not allowed. So
Right.
even if that had been.
So Reed Sound has to.
It's not. Reed Sound has to be the one to man all of the equipment and everything.
I mean, to that end, the school is going on 15 years old. It's got a state-of-the-art sound and lighting system there.
Right.
And it's in stellar condition because of the approach we've taken. We've only allowed high-level professionals to handle it.
Mhm.
Once you turn it over to, someone else, you're risking hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment.
Right.
And then the flip side of it too is, remember, when these weekend events happen, or even a weeknight event, we have to teach children the next morning.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate when we have situations where a teacher comes in to teach a class and, hey, something's missing from my room, or this doesn't work, or those kind of things. So,
Can I just ask really quick, the number, 'cause I went to look at the community use calendar. And there's obviously a lot of things on there, but some of them are like staff photos or Falcon Care for each school. Are those included in that 12,000?
They're,
So if you look at
Okay.
the invoices, there are far few, the invoices is just.
Because like I was
one
just
Right.
wondering how many of
Remember the
these
township
are
guidelines.
additional,
Well,
right? Like additional events, whether it's like special in-district events or, out of district. I do think if we can get the breakdown maybe of, whatever, like you can just put school in like
district.
one thing and then out of district, like based on the class, whether it's, out of town or if something that's through the township, I think that would be helpful to look at because those costs, we wouldn't be recouping necessarily for security and custodial for those, right? Because the tier ones is sort of what I'm
No,
talking.
we still, so we don't for the township, we have the agreement there.
Right.
But if you are a township resident and you want to host a birthday party here, you
We still
still pay
charge,
for
yeah.
these
Right, I just meant like sort of that breakdown of how many of the events of the 12,000 are like class 1, class 2, or class 3, so we can sort of get an
Clearly,
idea.
the vast majority are the Board of Education.
Right.
And the township.
Mhm.
So shared services agreement with the town allows them to use any building?
Mhm.
And how long is that valid till?
I don't have it in front of me.
5 years? Was it
it's
5 years? or-
several years, it's many years. Yep.
And they're specifically using it for practices, sports practices, or are there other town events? I know the
There's other-
Cultural Arts Commission
Right.
uses it.
Mhm.
What else, I'm sorry?
like, just like cultural arts.
Cultural
things like
arts,
that.
is there
And
more?
I think a lot of it is, majority is probably rec.
Right.
Yeah, rectify. I think most of the Boy Scouts fall under them. Some of them do, the ping pong clubs, there's a lot of different.
Right, I think this, the scouts are not township, but they're still tier 1.
They're still tier 1,
Right.
so they're still. Boy
So
Scouts.
are we able to do, cost analysis? Because we did see the invoice on the ones that we can charge, that's why one sheet. But for these different tiers that we're not charging money, the town specifically, can we see what it's cost the district? I know we're in a shared services agreement, there's not much that can be done about it, but just to see what it is, what's the cost of that shared service agreement to us? Is it possible, is it?
It's a big undertaking and I don't know.
I was gonna say, you said you were understaffed right now, so I don't know how.
And I don't know if there's any value to it. I mean, the township has been more than generous. They
Yeah,
gave us millions for across the street. And Applegarth would not be happening without their $6 million.
That's why we're in agreement with that.
So I mean, I think that the town definitely is doing their fair share,
And more so.
more so.
and can I reiterate to the senior center closes at 5 o'clock. So anything, they don't do anything at night over there.
They do have,
It all comes
they have things at night, it's just not through the senior center.
not to the senior
So you
center.
could rent it out.
But they're renting it out, but they don't like, they don't like to, and they don't like anybody past 9 in there.
Yeah,
So
when we
they-
go to banquets, there's a
Yeah,
hard
there's a,
deadline,
yes, so they have their times and their rules too.
their rules, yeah.
So the way we looked at this last time is I believe we started in this committee with the expertise of building use, looking at proposing some fees, looking at the other surrounding communities. Then we took it to finance, then we took it to policy. Policy was the last stop in the sense of it went through the financial piece, it went through the building use, this committee's perspective. And I think it was either, we
It was-
approved it last year, I think.
Right, we started the discussion.
But it was definitely worked maybe even 2 years ago or more.
Last year's change through that process was the time. Remember Mr. Sully was saying that.
Right.
you couldn't get security to stay past a certain
Yeah.
time.
Right.
We
But-
added the surcharge.
Same rate.
And then we charge more
Yeah,
after.
we're gonna charge them more.
But I would think that the adjustment piece starts here, then it moves to finance, then it moves to policy. And we did it in the same month oftentimes, or if this group needed more time, then we would bring it back. But that was kind of the flow of getting this taken care of.
So we're not charging any security deposit at this point? All right, so I think that's the first change that we should be making.
We've never charged a security deposit.
That would have to be in policy though.
It would have to go
Yep.
with
We
policy.
have to come up with some ideas and then go to policy and have policy figured out. Look at the rates now compared to, what maybe we should do. At least maybe.
Whatever the business
Whatever
office
the-
can
yeah.
recommend based on the data
Recommend
that
on-
they have.
yeah.
It could be 10% of your projected total cost or something like that. You can never say,
Exactly.
it's always, doesn't have to
You
be,
prefer that over like a flat,
or 15 or 20, I don't know, I just threw out a number.
right? That would be better than like a flat.
Flat rate,
security deposit.
agreed.
Okay.
And I know that there's an issue with, like the county and the amount of people. And I know that, one of my kids' groups years ago would use like Hammershock School. And they would say, whatever, it's a dance thing, they're gonna have, 1,500 people. They actually had somebody there with a counter. Because they said that people would come in and say they're having
And then truck-
1,500 people and 5,000 would show up. So, you know, it
That's one
might be,
person standing there.
it might be worth
It might
paying
be worth
somebody to stand there
Mhm.
and count, because, I mean, I know in East Brunswick, that was one of the reasons they raised their rate so much, was because they were, you know, people were utilizing Hammershock School, and they decided to make it something beneficial to the district, to try to make money for the district, then the district losing money paying for everybody's event to be in their school, so.
There's definitely a need for change here, so.
I just-
Maybe we could work on that.
Can change.
I just had two more quick questions about this. So the first is looking at the breakdown by location. And I know you said that not all of the applications are necessarily happening, but I know this was last year, but there were still a lot of things that were not at the high school. I had logged on to reserve for my own, you know, personal, Girl Scout use, but we're still allowed to select the other locations, and there's nothing about having to be at the high school yet. I don't know if maybe like they're doing that on the back end, like reaching out and saying, we'd like to move you to the high school. But right now, that's still an option where I could reserve Millie or Brookside for other, for. you
Yeah,
know,
we talked about that, and I think there's two pieces to that. There's, you know, we will always have like rec basketball at all the schools,
Right.
things like that, but some of those other pieces, whether we begin to transition them, right, they've already set up their routines, we begin to transition them to a future date at the high school, but the goal is to really centralize it.
Right.
And I agree we talked about this for several years.
Since we have security and everything here already.
The building's already open, so.
I just, because it's still letting anyone
Right,
select, and I know we discussed this, I think it was last month about
Yep.
putting something on there that unless there's a specific reason, like they need the gym, and obviously gyms aren't here, so they need to go to those, then they should be selecting the high school or checking it on the back end. And then just the other thing, the community use, part of the website, right now, it still has, last year's rates listed. I don't know if they changed, but it still says 24, 25. And then I think the use of building is from what we last updated, so it's July 24, but I don't think there's been any changes since then, so.
Yeah, I don't know if they update theirs on the, like, 24, 25, or if they do it a school year for us, or if they're using a calendar year, you know, maybe they're gonna update at the end of the calendar year, 26, 27. You said,
Right, so right now it's still, it says from July 1st to July 24 to July 1st, 2025 for reads down. So I think it's just, it's a matter of updating that on
Yeah.
there. So I just don't want someone to come back and
And say
say,
it's not-
this
it's
is
not
what was
current.
listed
Right.
and all that. I don't think there was that much of a change on there, but I think there was possibly something small, so.
The only other thing I wanted to bring up was, I know we had a power outage in town a couple weeks ago,
Yes.
and we had an incident with the high school related to that, and if you just give us an update, I understand the parts come in, it's all fixed now, but what happened and what?
So there was a power outage due to the fallen trees on Prineville Road. Which caused a major power surge here, power loss, the power surge. This building has a generator that sits outside the boiler room behind. If you've ever seen it, it looks like it's like a giant tank. So when we lose power here, this thing called a transfer switch that transfers power for the building, for the emergency lighting, et cetera, to the generator, and the generator runs. Well, when this happened, the surge that came in from the power failure melted component of the transfer switch, and we were stuck in that power for maybe over a week.
Yeah.
And so we were running the oil generator 24 hours a day. We were eventually able to get switched back, and we replaced this transfer switch, which is not a shelf item. As we've learned, most electrical things aren't anymore. So we were able to get that, and the transfer switch was replaced on Monday. Board members, Dr. Lehman notified everyone that we were basically closing things down Monday afternoon after school, which we did. The crew came in, it went much better than we anticipated. And so we were back to active power. However, we have two main breakers in the school. One is a 4,000 amp breaker. If you think about the breaker at your house, it's probably 150, 200 amps. This is 4,000, which only takes care of part of the building. We have another 5,000 amp breaker. Those breakers were also compromised. So maybe an old breaker in your house that trips all the time. That's kind of what we're dealing with here until we can get the replacements. We're looking at a 3 to 4 month delivery to have these fabricated new. Once again, electrical components are not readily available. So we're working through that process now. When we get those, we will arrange a future shutdown. Hopefully it'll be maybe during one of the school closing periods. We'll do those transfers as well. We also obviously filed insurance claims on this and have been working with insurance carriers. They have been out reviewing this because the costs are substantial. And we're looking to get reimbursed for that.
So the transfer switch has been taken care of, but the 4,000 and 5,000 amp breakers, they're being managed? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
They keep going and
Yes.
but once they come back, they'll be, when we get the new ones,
Yeah.
right?
So in the compromised state, it's possible that right now power could go off. We have to reset it.
We know what to go and do and then we'll come back.
I mean, it's stable enough that we have emergency power, we have power in school, we haven't had a hiccup. But if a truck runs into a pole out there again and something like that surge happens, it'll go off. And so it's not an ideal situation. And dealing with the insurance adjuster, they recognized the urgency of the matter. And when I was out there with him the other day, he said, you're authorized to pay premium to quick ship any of this because we realize the exposure on our end as your insurer is also great should something further happen.
We'll get all the reimbursement, or do we not know that yet?
Still going through the process. And we do have a deductible. That's all policies do. So we
Okay.
handle the deductible as well. So.
Yeah, the origin of this event was the last time we had committee meetings.
Yeah.
For how we last minute went remote.
Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Power was gonna come back on, so that evening, operating on generator power.
Right.
We were back on the majority
During the
of the
board
building
meeting,
power,
during the
for-
board
but
meeting,
even for the next
Next
night's
day.
committee.
or next committee.
Right, because we had the committee meetings normal, and we were operating, in a non-normal state, but it was normal, like when you're in the building, you
We wouldn't
you
know.
wouldn't notice.
We wouldn't
AC was
know.
on, all the tech was on, you wouldn't notice there was anything going.
You know, to that point, this was actually a good exercise for us because realizing that we had to do this transfer, we had to kill the building power. Our tech department did a stellar job of doing a trial run. We actually had to bring in a generator. They had to figure out, okay, what can we do to keep our system live? Because this is the hub for internet for the district, which also means it's the hubs for telephones for the district. So had we lost that and not been able to transfer over, you would have lost phone service at all the schools, you would have lost internet everywhere. So Elliot and his team, did a stellar job of kind of mapping that out, going through that. And the positive to this is, should there ever be another Armageddon type situation, we now know what to do. His team has gone through
That
emergency
prior
protocol,
run.
and now they know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're back online.
And did we validate that this is the right place to be the hub for our,
Yes.
Yep.
through this incident? It couldn't have been better
No
if it
school
was
has
anywhere else.
No school has an emergency generator that could handle being the main hub for that.
Right? And luckily it happened in the summer, so.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and it was literally something that happened quarter
yeah,
mile down the road.
Yeah.
And,
things
Yeah.
beyond our control.
we lose power in this town, in our schools frequently.
Mhm.
And every school has a various version of a backup system, whether it's battery backup, or in this case, it's a massive generator backup. And most of the times it's seamless, popping on, popping off, you don't even notice,
Process, right.
there's no manual interruption or whatever, but in this situation, whatever happened,
It's always
It
a
was
learning out.
challenging, yeah.
Thank you to you and your staff.
If I could add one item that's not on the agenda, but just came up, I talked to Ms. Allen about this before the meeting. So we were contacted by PSE&G, who's the natural gas supplier for our schools, regarding Brookside School. And they indicated that the gas meter over there had not been operating properly. And we now owe around a large sum of money for that service not billed. And they're being aggressive, but at the same time, I think they do realize that we are a school. So on our end, we did a check. I used Energy for America and their engineering group to validate potential usage, et cetera. And it's likely in the ballpark. What I'd like to recommend is the committee may recall I brought in the past, utility consultant, Taylor and Banks, I think is their name. It used to be provided through Ed Service Commission as an approved vendor. And the way they work is they will come in and review your utility situation. They will fight on your behalf. And it costs nothing. And if they are able to recover anything,
They'll take
they
a
then take a
percentage.
percentage of it.
Yeah.
They did that for us, I think, brought it to the committee a little over a year ago or so.
We did,
And
yes.
they found a situation at Mill Lake School where they
And we saved money.
charged for a certain tariff that should not have been applied there for a long time, and we got a $36,000 credit
Yeah.
for that. I'd like to, with your permission, reach out to them and say, hey, you fight this for us, and at least maybe even buy us some time, if not, and see if you can get us a reduction, and any reduction we get is saved money, and, we'll hold them to the same contract rates we have, whatever their percentage is,
How long was the period of quality readings?
quite a while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they've
And
since
they,
come out,
they
and
caught on to it.
they caught on to it.
Is there any statute of limitations on that or?
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for, Taylor and Banks to fight on.
Okay, I mean, I'm
The
an
companies
attorney,
do,
but
they renegotiate their, like the power company.
yeah.
Reduce the rate.
I
So,
recently
yeah,
had an experience where they came back and told me, you know how all the residential meters are getting converted into smart meters, so
Right.
they're taking away the one, they came and told me mine was operating too fast, so they gave me back money.
Oh, I
So
like
when you
that.
started talking about it, I was like, who knows that happened in the school too, and you're getting back money, but the opposite happens, we don't always get lucky. But I think that's a great idea to have them, because they don't charge us anything and they take a percentage and
Yeah.
it's
It's well worth it. If we
Well
can
worth
save
it.
money.
if we can save money. So by all means, thank you.
We'll get that going.
And for next meeting, if you have an idea, like if they give us a rate, we can at least have an idea of what, how long, where we're at with that.
Sure.
This way we have an idea of expenditures it's gonna be.
Just
Okay.
out of curiosity, I definitely agree with moving forward with this, but if there is any like easy legal component that would take away like a chunk of what that is it worth having like, Adam, like Mr. Weiss, look at that to see if that would be like at least partially
Like,
resolved?
Yeah,
and
if
then
it's like
they
a
would
time
be
thing,
more-
like you said.
Right, and then they would work on the balance of whatever it is that an option, or do they have? to
My
sort
guess
of get-
would be that this company is probably attorneys, and this is what they do for a
This is
living,
their
is that their specialty is.
Okay,
We show you every time we
For
call
your-
Adam Weiss, so.
They're not.
right, I don't know
In
what
other
the
words,
number is, so I didn't
we
know.
would have to
how-
pay him, and then on top of that, we're gonna hire this group for
But this group
free.
also has attorneys.
Right, yeah, and I thought if it's
I'm
like
sure
6
it's an
years,
attorney.
you can only go back 2 years, and it takes 2 hours of Mr. Weiss, that's different than 8 years of
But
whatever.
I'm sure this group will know that if they can.
They would
only
probably be
allow
looking at the
to-
same
If
statute.
they're only allowed to charge you, I'm sure this group will
If
know
there's
what,
that kind
there's
of,
a limitation.
Window.
No, I think they would, but then I think that we would have to pay a percentage of that, whereas
Oh, well, you're
Right.
saying if we save 5 years worth of money, we would have to give them that.
that percentage of that 5 years, but it was, you know,
Well, like on the Mill Lake one, we did not pay Taylor and Banks until we got the check back from JCPenney.
right,
So we had we had a number, $36,000 check come in, and then we issued a purchase.
I might just not be explaining my.
No, but I
thought.
understand her
Okay.
point, so if just saying the period was 6 years, and legally they cannot go back 6 years and they can only go back 3 years, right? So if we were to find that with a half-hour call to Mr. Rice, then we recruit them just to fight for the 3 years, versus if they go in, they will save 6 years worth of money and we would pay 6 years worth of percentage, whereas now we'll only pay a percentage on 3 years. Did I
Yeah.
explain what you were saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I think that first we need to know how long. Is it 1 year? Is it 2 years? And have an idea of where we're
Of
at.
how far,
Yeah, it's
It's like, right now, we're all.
not that
No,
much,
exactly.
okay.
Okay.
That's what I
You weren't
mean.
sure what's substantial.
Yeah, in the worst case scenario, it would be a great idea, but then you.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's just, like you said, if it's 6 years, which I really.
Right,
No.
we're talking about a couple of years and.
I'd say substantial, because remember, you're talking, think about what your own gas bill is,
Yeah,
and then magnify that by 25 because of the size of the school.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
Yes,
okay, yeah, no.
it's still a lot of money.
still a lot of money. But yeah, I think that getting that group in
Mhm.
would definitely be beneficial to us.
Okay.
Anything else before we move on to transportation? Thank you, Mr. Day.
Thank you very much.
Now on to our transportation review. Ms. Mortar, could you tell us how, opening week went?
It was busy, but I think overall it did go well. We're still cleaning up some of the routes and evaluating them. And, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I think it was maybe 2 years ago, they bought an upgrade on the transponder system. So, previously, until June, we were working in Pro. And we had this newer system that I wanted to start using, and it's never a good time to start something. So we started with ESY, and now we're using it in the fall. So there's some kinks that we're still trying to adjust to. But we are going through training. We have a trainer that comes on, so if we have any questions, I think it's 5 classes we have, and everybody in the staff, we do it via Zoom. And they go over different things to make us familiar with all the little perks for the upgraded system.
So does it like help to like optimize the routes and things
Yes,
like that?
yes, but still, like I said, we're getting used to a new system, so there's some kinks, making sure that we put it in Genesis and, making sure we're in constant communication, but, there were some routes that we had to reevaluate and change. There are parents that are requesting some changes for stops, and I just asked them, please be patient. The ones that email me, the staff is taking notes, said, give me a couple weeks till everything settles down and we have the routes down pat. And then I'm gonna review all their requests and see if I can accommodate, and if they're reasonable, I will. But I just asked them for time, and the parents have been wonderful. They really have been.
If I can ask really quick, because you sort of mentioned the accommodations, I know one thing that when my daughter was in high school now was elementary school, our bus used to go down the cul-de-sac. And then the bus stop was in, because we're one street, right? And the stop was in the middle of the street. And then we were told that the buses can no longer go into cul-de-sacs. Is that like a district protocol?
Yeah.
Because I also know like if there's, younger grades or like special needs, they might be on smaller buses that don't have to do that.
Yeah, with the larger buses, we have to be very careful going into cul-de-sacs, if you're going down, even though the road seems like it's perfectly fine to drive down with a bus, there might be garbage cans, cars, and it's difficult. The smaller vans, they can get down. There are some roads that it's just, but, and also, to optimize, the population's growing, so there's a lot more students, and to optimize some of the routes we had, the students come down to the corner instead of going in and out and in and and it's made the routes, more efficient, less time on the bus for the students, so I think it's working out well, but to answer your question, cul-de-sacs, we don't go
Okay.
into with the big buses
So
too.
then the other side of it, right? I live off of Matchaponics, and so the kids are all waiting on Matchaponics, and luckily, like buses, and I commend you and the team, like they've been there pretty close to when they're supposed to be. But obviously there's always that concern of the waiting especially with like little kids, right? Like I have a first grader who is exciting. I get nervous about like with, a major road, where especially when people aren't always paying attention, but there's obviously only so much we can do. I just wasn't sure if that's ever a factor in regards to the bus stop, like the safety of the stop itself.
Well, safety is always our number one concern.
Mhm.
And we always look at that, and that's what I'm saying. We did get some requests to change the stops. I have to look at it.
Right.
But up to 3rd grade, the parents are to be out there with the student or a guardian. We do our best as far as safety. As far as the time, I always tell the parents, within 2 weeks, the buses are, unless there's an unforeseen incident that happens, they usually come like clockwork.
Yeah.
They really do. Within a 5-minute window, you can count on that bus coming, because they get used to the traffic patterns and whatnot,
Right.
But I think overall, it's calming down already in the office. That's a good thing,
I did have 2 questions about the opening. So how were the communications in the second, this is still just the second week? Are we able to address parents right away? Are we taking some time? Is it too much volume?
Phone versus email.
Yeah, I think we did well. That's my opinion. I have a full office staff, and they were doing wonderfully. And we would send out blasts, and also
Mr. Maralda?
Yes, he was helping as far as sending the blast out. If it got too crazy, the office, I would shoot him an email, send it to this bus and tell them we're running 15 minutes behind, the school's getting out late or whatever. So, I mean, I think it went well. I mean,
Do
it
you
wasn't.
had, any idea on these complaints, like were they all on a particular topic, or were they just general, all over the place complaints specific to individual stops and kids?
The general complaint was that we did pull some routes out to the, road that were before they were going into development.
Okay.
Mhm.
And, and also I did ask them as well, please be patient, we're monitoring it. If it becomes an issue or it's a safety, just give me a chance, because there's other, on the road, there's other streets that come out and they've been waiting all along, but of course, if it becomes an issue or whatever, we will do what we have to do to correct it.
So my only ask would be that we close that loop. So if we told the parents, be patient, we're still monitoring,
Mhm.
maybe after monitoring for a couple more weeks, no matter which way you decide, close the loop with the parents so that they're not waiting for a response.
Absolutely, I will.
Whatever
definitely-
decision you take, which is the decision.
No, I will get back to them either way, and if it's a no or yes, I'll explain my position and
Yeah.
why.
And my other question, Ms. Marta, was, how have your interactions been with the 4 companies that we contracted out
They've
to?
been great. They
Do you
have
feel
been
more in control with?
Yes, I do, and we're in the process, of getting radios for them.
Okay.
So this way, I think we have one more.
Our radios.
Yes, our radios, yeah.
Confirm.
They always have radios,
I'm
but.
sorry.
You confirm they have radios?
What-
For their-
Yes.
for
They have,
their-
yes, they have radio, oh, I'm sorry, yes,
Yeah.
they have their own radios, but we're gathering up extra two-way radios that we
Handheld
have,
radios.
and we're gonna give it to them, so this way it'll be immediate with the drivers.
That was my question, because if, like, there's, especially because I know we're using the contract buses in the elementary schools, right? Like middle school, high school kids, they have an easier way of communicating because most of them have phones or things like that. But, and I forgot, I know Mill Lake has it, and I think Woodlands, I couldn't remember if there's another elementary school that has the contracted.
Mill Lake, and then there's
That's
Woodland.
Mill Lake and Woodlands. Because like, I guess my concern was like, if there is an issue and like, you have to try to find someone, if they're on one of those, like, I know a lot of times they would do like I think it's an all call, right? But if it's one of the contracted buses, then right now, that wouldn't go to them, like, it would go to you, who would then have to reach out to their
That's what
person,
we
who has
do.
to reach out to their buses, and like,
It's,
it's a matter of like
it is,
seconds.
it is a little bit longer than getting in touch with our own buses, but they've been good. We've had to do things like that. And they stay on the phone. I hear them calling the drivers right on the radio, pull over, check the bus, look for the student, whatever. So it's been much better than dealing with the commission, although it'll be even better when we get the radios. I understand what you're saying.
Are the complaints that you've received over the last 10 days, any which way tilted towards the contracted buses, or is just generally all over?
All over.
It's
Okay,
mostly,
that's great to
mostly
hear.
stops, you said?
Is it mostly changes stop?
Yeah.
Yes, it's mostly changes, stops, yes.
Okay, so
That's natural. That's
But as I
expected.
said, I am gonna evaluate, though, I actually give me till September 16th, and then I'm gonna start reviewing everything.
Excellent.
And I did tell them I would get back to them either way, so we could discuss it.
Thank you.
And then just, I guess, protocol wise, like I know you mentioned that you were meeting with, I don't know if it was the drivers or the companies themselves, but I guess just is there like the consistency of like our bus drivers when the kids are getting on the buses at the schools and taking attendance? Like, are the contracted drivers doing that too, sort of to make sure that the right kids are getting on those buses?
I haven't been there to view it, but I
Right.
did happen to I did get a video from one of the contracted buses, and they were great with the kids. They really, this one particular driver, the intern, good afternoon, how are you? Sit down. She had all the labels for the little students, so they knew the younger grades, how they knew where their seats were. She said, "Oh, look up there, there's your name." And I was really pleased with what I saw, and she had no idea I was gonna pull the video.
Great.
And, it was nice to see. So I think it's working out well. And again, it wasn't any complaints just towards the contractors. It was just,
in general.
yes.
That
Which
was
is
really
common
nice
the
about
first
the video. Thanks for sharing that.
So in terms of communication, we made a concerted effort to, even at the high school level, notify, high school buses have left the high school, the middle school buses have left the middle school. Just, there are buses that have longer routes or shorter routes, or they have to double back and, make an extra stop or whatever it is. But we wanted to, oftentimes, not having any information is
Right.
worse than, and then you start thinking or worrying. And so if you know that all the buses have left the school and your son or daughter's on high school, middle school, Barclay Brook, Brookside, whatever, at least you know the buses are on the road.
Yeah.
And then if there was a further specific delay, or in the morning specifically, if a bus got delayed, for whatever reason, we have the ability to target, communication towards specific bus routes as well. So we don't have to alert entire middle school that one bus is
Yeah.
5 minutes early or 5 minutes late or whatever. So, and that's something that we've been integrating into our new, Messages XR system, which is replacing Blackboard Connect. We started that a couple weeks ago. So, we'll continue to tweak that, improve that, and leverage that messaging system.
Is that communication piece right now being helped with the help of the tech team or Mr. Meralda, or is the transportation team able to manage it on their own?
We've been so busy that we haven't actually used it.
Okay.
But I did get an alert on my phone. It's really great when you get it. It's like, and it comes right up all the
Yeah.
information. I was like,
Right.
what's that? And
Right,
so
but
it is.
right now it's a collaboration of different teams.
Yes.
So right now, for the first 3 days of school, we had a specific plan to funnel everything to Mr. Meralda to push things out. That way, because we knew the principals, we knew the administrative team, we knew the transportation office was answering phone calls, listening to the bus radios, and running around on the bus loops. So get a message to us, we will get a message out. Take that burden, because going to the computer and putting something in, you should be out on the bus loops. It will transition to, and it has been now, building-based. And they typically do a lot of, especially the afternoon bus runs, this left late, this left there. And it also comes from the transportation department. So you guys typically handle the morning ones too. At 6:45 in the morning, you know better than anybody else whether that bus is running 10 minutes late because the driver, is being covered by another driver or whatever it is. So typically the morning notifications come from transportation. The midday and afternoon ones come from a combination, you could get them both, from transportation and the building. But we, for the first 3 days of school, had a specific plan to funnel all communications. And some of the schools sent their own as well,
Okay.
which was awesome. I know Mill Lake would follow up with,
The
the
time.
buildings had cleared at, whatever minutes. And then Mr. Merle would also compliment and fired out a text message or an email as well. So
Yeah.
our goal was to over communicate specifically the first few days of school. And once the routines have settled in, and again, it's still fine tuning, but once they settle in, we get back to our traditional communication venues, which is schools sending out when the buses are leaving. Because again, they know better than anyone. The last students just walked out on the late bus. We can send that message, this bus is en route and good to go.
Just to clarify, because I got the messages for the first couple of days and I got the excitement about cutting down the time the next day and all of that. But those have stopped now. Like parents should not expect that. And it would be more just if there's a special circumstance for that bus, that's when they would expect.
We should be on schedule now, correct?
Yeah, we're getting close.
It's been pretty good as far as schedule. I mean, like I said, we were tweaking some of the routes, and some of the routes were leaving a little later, but.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
because I got one for the high school, like they left on time. It was great to get the communication, right? Because I always say, like you sort of said, better to have more than less, right? But I don't think we need the whole year, or even like extra
Yeah.
weeks of the buses have left on time, have a great day,
Given that the first 2 weeks are the weeks of uncertainties, now that the dust is gonna settle on that, what I understand from what you just explained, it'll be a collaboration between transportation office and building principals to send out the messaging. Our administrative staff in the business office is not going to be,
Nope.
it's just gonna be.
We're always there to support if I can fire off a message if we need
If there's
to,
an
but
emergency or something like that, right?
the reason it's really localized at that point is you guys know
Better
from the
control.
radio exactly where the buses are, and the buildings will know, this last bus literally walked out of the cafeteria where they were staged for 15 minutes. Now let's send the parents a message.
Yes.
Instead of doing the same thing they would do, but it's sending to us to then send out. It's much more efficient. And that's the traditional communication method.
Sounds good.
So,
Are we able to get any more drivers?
I'm trying. I'm trying.
It usually works to recruit people.
Yeah, they're coming in little by little.
So we're making a little bit of progress.
Yes.
Now, the only other thing I'd like to see is once we get this, the dust settled on this, is we go back and revisit the bus app to figure out, you know, what we're gonna do with this company. You need to get in touch with them and we gotta pilot it, figure out where we're gonna pilot it, and then let's get this done so we have an idea of what's going on and how it's gonna work.
But I agree with the bus stop. I just had two other quick communication questions. I know we discussed the email for transportation, so that people could email their concerns if they're not urgent. The website still just has the phone number. I don't know how many people are going there versus just contacting the central, but if.
We can it's updated, everybody, you know.
Just like, all non-urgent matters, you know, please email, because then like, that gives you that time.
That transportation at Monroe
Right.
K-12, that goes to everyone in your office.
Yeah,
Gets
I've
the
been
same
getting the
email.
emails.
Okay.
You're right, I mean, maybe we.
It should be on the website too.
Yeah, we'll.
Probably everybody has it because of social media posts, but this would.
Put
be-
it on a website so they can
Yes.
see it. if-
Right, that was great to have that on social media at the beginning of the year, but then once there's other posts that get lost.
Yeah,
Oh, you're right.
100%.
And then my other question was just buzzing as far as like after school activities, like, I guess mostly athletic right now for the high school and middle school.
Mhm.
Has that been running smoothly as well as that mostly out of district buses? Is it a combination?
Right now, I have quite a few drivers out,
Okay,
so I have been using the contractor. I haven't had any issues whatsoever. I do anticipate them to start coming back at the end of September.
okay,
So, you know, but right now, we've been using a manual and we haven't had an issue with them at all.
okay, sounds good. And then, yeah, I agree with Mr. Piero, like, I don't know if we can set a time to
I
start,
figure next
Move-
meeting we'll
right, to do.
We'll
the
give you an
thing.
update.
we can update on where we're at with
Yeah.
it. Let her finish
Right,
this
yeah,
week and make sure we're all there, and then by
Right.
next meeting.
I think in
We
the
should
last
be able to get an
presentation,
update.
we were missing some data on the comparison between the two, the transponder.
now we're all saying they're on.
That we have and, you know, if we were to use that versus, so
Mhm.
that data versus, you know, trying out.
But I think the transponder only gives you the bus location and only our buses. So
They
it
said
would
that
work.
that you could add a plan to it.
Right, but that was
What I-
more expensive
That was
than
more
the,
expensive.
the
I wanted to see what that cost compares to the right spot.
right, I think it said the one that uses from our company, like they
I
have those
believe the
options
bus
that
stack is the
more.
trial that tracks, correct?
The right spot is the one that we were looking to
Right.
pilot.
But that's a fractured child.
Right,
It tracks your child. It
right,
tracks
which the
it
one
towards
that,
your child.
I think
The other
they
one
said,
only tells you that where
The-
that bus is.
Correct.
not
The
that your
basic
child's
one.
on
The basic one.
right, but then they had a premium one, but it costs more than the
Yes,
out,
yes.
the
It's
one
a
that
pretty
specializes.
that we don't have
in
data on,
Yeah.
Mr. Piero. So if we could get that, just because we don't want to all just assume
Yeah.
there's only one solution out there. If
No.
there are multiple, then we weigh them both.
Yeah, but it'd be really good to have it and then to have the pilot done so that when we start doing like the budget rounds. If
We
we,
can figure out where we need it. I mean, we may only need it for K-8.
right,
We don't know.
Yeah, and I
We
think,
need it
I think
for
when,
K to 5.
when we do a version of the pilot, we should have a serious discussion of, you know, what it would look like, who it would, and who would leverage it, and is there even an option of like, you know, a per diem piece?
Yeah.
You know, if someone chooses to do it or not, because I don't know, there's definitely an interest to it, but there is a significant cost associated
Oh,
with
yeah.
it, you know.
That's what I mean.
Some of the programs are up in excess of $150,000, and it's, you know,
Mhm.
is it something, if we are communicating effectively, is it something that we need? You know, if everybody knows the buses are on the road, you know.
I guess-
It's a conversation, we can all have a, you know, different thought on it, but,
right, I guess to that point, I think Mr. Piero had brought this up at a previous meeting. And I don't know how many calls you get like about, you know, my child's not at the stop yet or things like that, but if it were to cut back on that, like, because I think that's already been reduced, but if we saw like an extreme reduction with the app where, you know, we may not need as much support, you know, in terms of staff, then
Because
it
you'll
might,
know where your child is when they check on the
Right.
bus. or check-
you know, where there's a further like reduction in calls depending on how many you're getting.
We really don't get a lot of calls, to
Okay,
be
well,
honest
that's
with you.
great.
Yeah, we really, really don't. I mean, maybe around, I'd say on average, maybe 5. And it's only, you know, I mean, of course, the parents are concerned. Usually the bus is running late and a lot of times they'll call and say, where's my bus? Oh, it's here, sorry.
Yeah. That's the first couple.
So but it's worth the conversation. And then there's also like, the many parents have the Life 360, they have the Find My iPhone. So there are other,
For older children, yeah.
or even
But-
the younger students that have we know of many students have their phones in their bags
Yeah.
and things like that. So, yep.
But I do agree with what you're saying is, and I go back to what Dr. Chandy always says, must-haves and wants, right? So we want to be able to track our children. Is it something that we can afford to do, given our, budget? And does it fit in? Like, is it really serving a larger need?
And that's why I thought we were gonna pilot it, just to see.
Yeah,
Work.
agreed.
How does it work? Now we know a feel from parents. Is this something they want? Is this something, they don't want?
Right.
And then that's
And
why I
then see,
thought we
is
were
it one or really, oh no,
do it with
really
10
helping.
buses or 15 buses, just to get a feel of, what it is and what we need and what we don't need, so.
Definitely worth
Yeah,
I
exploring.
think it's worth looking at.
Yeah.
And in our conversations administratively, we had talked about, if we have the infrastructure in the buses, is there a method that parents could select to do it or not? Maybe one parent on one bus wants it, is it a per diem, can they pay $6.99 to whatever to, I don't,
Yeah.
just, I don't know that it also has to be all in, all out.
Yes.
Right? So I
Yeah.
think that's the other part of the conversation as we look into this. So.
Anything else, anybody else? Okay, that'll be the conclusion of our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.